A year ago, I posted a video called My Top 10 Most Wanted Death Battles, where I go through my most wanted / favorite matchups of all time, at the time. But now that video is kind of outdated, with my opinions changing over time. And also that video is kind of bad, so yeah, screw that. So here is an updated and hopefully better version of that video, cause why not? This is my updated top 10 most wanted death battle matchups. I should note, while this is titled my most wanted death battles, it's more accurate to call these my most favorite matches in general, since some of these probably won't happen on Death Battle, and there are other versus shows that can do it instead. And one of these matchups on this list actually became a Death Battle. But I'll tell this most wanted Death Battles anyways, because I'll be talking about Death Battle throughout this video since it's the most well-known versus show, and I like to see these in Death Battle anyways, even though they'll likely won't. Also, I say the list has changed, but it didn't really change a lot. There are some old matches from my old list, but some do have new placements, and there are 3 new matches added to the list. So I'll count this as an updated list. I'll try to explain why I like these matches the best I can, but forgive me if my explanations aren't that great. Also, I'll give my half-assed thoughts on who I think wins. Also, you don't have to agree with me that these matches are good, that's fine by me, just be respectful about it. With that all being said, let's just begin.
Women!
Here is my new most wanted matchup. Monokuma vs Koro Sensei. Yeah, Lloyd vs Laval is not my most favorite anymore. I still like it, but it's more of a guilty pleasure. And also I don't really have much reason to like it other than nostalgia. Monokuma vs Koro Sensei on the other hand, oh boy do I have reasons to like it. Goofy and comedic teacher / school faculty with permanent smiles known to fight with their speed, kind of, and wacky abilities over strength, who teach a class all about killing. They contrast in where Monokuma doesn't really teach his students how to kill, but encourages them to kill each other, and he doesn't really care for his students. Koro Sensei, on the other hand, does teach his students how to kill, but encourages them not to, and he cares deeply for his students. There's not that many connections, but it vibes a lot. You can probably have the fight start with Koro Sensei attacking Monokuma after he admits that he likes seeing his students in despair, or attempt to make Koro's students enter a killing game where they have to kill each other. The fight can be fast-paced and fun, especially with Monokuma's clones, army, whatever you want to call it, included. You can even have somewhat of an army battle with the Monokuma army and Koro Sensei's after images, and the banter can be amazing with how comedic both can get. It's also debatable from what I know, though that really depends if you think Monokuma can scale to the high tiers of Danganronpa, which I think he probably can. With good connections, an interesting contrast, and a fun fight and banter potential, it's no wonder why this is my all-time favorite matchup and my most wanted for Death Battle. Kind of sad it lost to the Tournament of Champions, but hey, I hope it happens in Season 12. I know people would prefer Chris McClane for Monokuma and Sans for Koro Sensei, but I personally find these matches uninteresting. Monokuma vs Chris honestly works better with Junko instead of Monokuma, and Sans vs Koro, while has one decent connection, a decent banter potential, and questionable but still can work setup, has nothing that really interests me or gives me a reason to care. Plus Sans has a better match, which I'll get into in a second. Anyways, love this matchup to bits.
I'm super depressed!
Here is a match from the old list that was lower in the list but is now very high. Sans vs the Judge. Two small, white, lazy, fourth wall breaking, permanently smiling characters from RPG indie games who are spotted early on in their games. They remain mostly neutral towards the protagonist, but also watch and judge their actions. After witnessing how evil and murderous the protag can be, they go against them and become the final boss, determined to stop them once and for all. They ultimately fail as they die by the hands of the protag. Judge dies if you choose to take Batter's side at the end of Off. This is a great matchup and is the best for both. It has an interesting aesthetic and can be a cool fight. You can probably do some cool stuff with Judge's moveset and Sans' blasters and bones. I think you can have the fight start over Judge questioning Sans' actions of not stepping in to stop Frisk / Koro / player, whatever you want to call them, from killing before it was too late. Or you could have Judge attack Papyrus and Sans steps in to stop him. Either could work, I guess, probably the first one more so. Also, the banter would be good. Sans does take an L, which is mega sad, but it's not surprising. Sans has infinity matches and only a few I can call good, some being guilty pleasures. And I already just shared my thoughts on Sans vs Koro Sensei. And Judge does have some other matches, but Sans just fits him the most. So yeah, this is a mega based matchup. This should have won against Kratos vs.
You pissed me off.
Suck these nuts!
Another new match added to my list, Mordecai and Rigby vs. Finn and Jake. Cartoon Network's most iconic duos of best friends from the network's most popular series, which are known for their crazy worlds and adventures that these duos go on, consisting of the taller, slightly more responsible blue friend and the smaller, much lazier friend who sometimes walks on all fours. This is one of my favorite, if not my most favorite, cartoon matchup and 2v2 matchup. The fight can be fun with an interesting dynamic of Finn and Jake working together better than Mordecai and Rigby, who'll mostly argue with each other. And it can be more fun if you include their wide arsenals and abilities, like Finn's many swords, Jake's blue creature form, Def Kwon Do, the power, and many more. And the banter can be pretty fun too. You can have the setup be some random shit happened, which forces these four characters into fighting each other, which kinda fits the fact that most of the stuff that happens in regular show is because shit happens, which probably fits Adventure Time as well. I think my favorite interpretation of this setup is Mordecai and Rigby playing an online game with Finn and Jake, and both duos get sucked up into the game and are forced to fight each other. This match is pretty debatable since the answer for who wins kind of changes a lot, but I'm kind of leaning towards Finn and Jake more. Either way, I love this matchup. Both duos' other 2v2 matchups don't really interest me much. More so Finn and Jake's other options, since I do kind of like Mordecai and Rigby versus either Red and Blue from Dick Figures or Ian and Anthony from Smosh. While I do have preferred solo matches for Mordecai and Jake, being Ed from Ed's World and Plastic Man from DC respectively, I think it's better if they fight together as duos. Anyways, epic matchup, hope it happens on Death Battle one day.
Talk to the glyph, bitch!
Last new matchup in this list, Luz Noseda vs. Anne Boonchoi. Two female protagonists from modern Disney cartoons who get isekai'd into another dimension of supernatural or amphibian-like entities. Both get stuck in these worlds, either by choice or not, and while there they would befriend some characters from these new worlds, including a group of 3 they will soon consider a second family. They would eventually butt heads with rulers of these worlds who are somewhat respected, but deep down were either pure evil or broken. In their season 2 finale, they would be sent back to the human world with some of their new friends, in which they spend most of season 3 in, or in Owl House case, a few months time skip in one episode, while also trying to find a way back to the other dimension. They would eventually go back to see the world has changed a lot when they were gone. They die trying to stop the bad guy, who at this point is now the core for Anne, but will come back to life thanks to a godly entity. They would also get cool looking forms for their final battles, though in Luz's case she gets her Titan form after being revived, and Anne gets her full powered Calamity form before dying. Their story ends with both kind of going back to the human world, but with the contrast that Luz still gets to see her otherworldly friends while Anne is unable to see hers again. Also, there's probably some theory out there where both shows take place in the same universe along with Gravity Falls. I probably poorly explained the connections, but it can basically be summed up as both are from Disney shows with similar stories. And there's some rivalry/legacy between the two shows, so there's that. Anyways, I really love this matchup. Owl House and Amphibia have become one of my most favorite shows as of recently, that I admittedly started watching too late, and Luz and Anne have become one of my top 20 favorite characters. That, and on top of the rivalry/legacy, gives me enough reason, in my opinion, to love this matchup, though they are better off as friends than opponents. I know Luz vs Little Witch Academia Pro Tag is a thing, but I haven't seen Little Witch Academia and don't plan to, so I don't really have an opinion on it. I do like Luz vs Edward Elric as an alt, because I've read Full Metal Alchemist, I like Ed, and I think the fight between Gliss and Alchemy can be cool. It also just vibes. Anne vs Movie Sonic is a good alt for Anne. It can be a cool fight and it vibes a lot. I have nothing to say about Anne's other options, but I like Luz vs Anne more due to vibing a lot more with it, and because I'm sometimes a sucker for legacy matches. I do somewhat understand if people prefer their other options, but I'm not those people. Anyways, I think a fight can be neat with Luz's glyphs and Anne's sword and calamity powers. The banter can be fun, but you can also probably have the characters show respect towards each other, since I don't really see both of these characters hating each other. Also, Titan Luz vs full powered Anne would be epic, though you'll have to allow Outside Out for this to happen. You can have the setup be both looking for the Calamity Box and fighting over it, as they both have the same goal to use it to get back home. Though it'll probably be hard to find a good reason for both to kill each other in terms of a death battle, since again, I can't imagine they would do that. Good thing other versus shows exist where characters don't have to die, so Luz vs Anne doesn't have to end in death. But for a death battle, they can probably make the death accidental and probably make an emotional ending from it. As to who I think wins, I heard Titan Luz makes this more fair, even to the point where people think Luz wins now because of it. But in my opinion, Titan Luz isn't as powerful as some people make her out to be. She didn't do much in her limited screen time to justify her being comparable/scale to the Collector. And I don't think her Titan form makes her as strong as the Titan because she only got a small portion of their power. Not saying Titan Luz isn't powerful, but I personally think the Collector scaling and the Titan stuff is a bit wonky. So yeah, I'm going with Anne here, which is a shame because I do like Luz a little bit more than Anne. But hey, an Anne W is cool too. Talked about this match for quite a while now, so let's move on.
Sorry, Amy. I'm gay.
Alright, from now on, just familiar matches with mostly different placements. SMG4 Mario vs Sonic Zombie Sonic. Two idiotic YouTube parodies of Mario and Sonic that use Gmod elements in their videos, who go on crazy adventures with their groups and face off against the evils of their worlds. Not much thematically, but the potential for this fight is gold. The banter can be really good, and the fight can be so random, chaotic, and fun. I can imagine Sonic just ramming his Hummer into Mario and sending him flying. That just sounds like fun. There's a lot of fun you can just do with this matchup, really. I think the perfect style to do this in is SFM animation, but also add some elements of Gmod to it, mostly the ragdoll physics. Hell, just do the fight in Gmod and make it exactly like how it's made in Sonic Zombie. I think that would be a cool and unique way to do this fight. You can probably even do what SMG4 does when using Super Mario 64 in his videos. It'd be hard to make Super Mario 64 and Gmod work together in a fight, but that would be cool. Either way, this fight can be a great time, and I'll die if it happens on Death Battle. Supersonic vs Dark MegaMan.EXE. I should specify that it's the evil Supersonic from the Fleetway comics, aka the Sonic the Comic series. Two evil versions of the protagonist who were created due to them absorbing some kind of energy. They would get separated from their original bodies and become the manifestation of evil, who wouldn't hesitate to hurt their friends if necessary. They would become good at one point, but ultimately would meet their end to a girl when trying to absorb some energy. Eventually they would rejoin with the protagonist and become one again. The connections I could find for this matchup were kind of worded weirdly, so I tried my best to word them better. Anyways, this is one of the better versions of Sonic vs. Mega Man in my opinion. It vibes, the aesthetic can be cool, and has potential to be a destructive fight. You can probably have a beam struggle with Dark Mega Man's arm cannon, Mega Buster, whatever it's called, and Supersonic's laser eyes, and have both just blow up the area they're fighting in. You can also show these characters cruelty by endangering or straight up killing anyone that happens to be there during the fight, and not show remorse while doing that. You can probably show some glimpse of their good sides, but I don't know how well that would work. Also, the banter can be neat. This is easily the best for both to me. Supersonic's other matches don't really click with me, like Z Broly, Super Broly, and Kid Buu. The only other Supersonic match that I like is TKO from OKKO Let's Be Heroes, but as a good alt. Other than that, I don't care for his other matches. Okay, Supersonic vs Spider Carnage does sound interesting though. Dark Mega Man doesn't have anything else other than Dark Samus, which no, and Kamen Rider Para-DX, which does seem to have a lot of connections, but I don't care enough to look into it more. So yeah, I'm happy with this one. Who wins? I heard Dark Mega Man wins due to being higher into low multiversal and, ironically, speed blitzing, so I guess I'll go with that. Though sad Supersonic L because I think he's kind of cool. Love this matchup.
Vanessa, I'm a material girl.
Sulley vs Glamrock Freddy, two colorful brutes who are gentle giants who work for a shady corporation. They would meet a small human child who they become father figures to and would help them get out of their corporations, while also protecting them from their own kind. Connections are simple, but I love this matchup a lot. I think the fight can be fun, especially with Freddy's upgrades included. You can have a claw battle with Monty's claws, you can have Sulley try to get away from Freddy, but he uses Roxy's eyes to see through walls to find him, and you can have Freddy try to stun Sulley with Chica's voice box, but it fails, in which Sulley scoffs it off and roars in Freddy's face, actually stunning him long enough to punch him or something. I can see some fun stuff coming out of this fight. You can probably add some wacky shenanigans with the doors from Monsters Inc. I don't know how you'll do it, but I think that can be cool. And the banter can be funny, but I can also imagine that one or both of them will try to de-escalate the situation, not really wanting to fight. I guess that leads to the problem, how would you make the two fight? But I'd imagine you can make the setup seem like one side views their opponent as a threat to their child and would do anything to protect them, including fighting the so-called threat. It's not a perfect setup, but I think it can work. You can probably also implement Boo and Gregory somehow. Maybe both would have moments where one of them is in danger and their respective father figures would stop fighting for a moment to save their kid. You can probably lead this to both characters growing more doubt as to why they're fighting each other this way. You can even have an emotional ending with the winner beating the loser to the brink of death, and the loser's kid comes out to cry over their dying father figure. This will cause the winner to feel sorry and apologize to the loser while also promising to take care of their kid. You know, something like Tanjiro vs Jonathan, but probably more tragic and sad. Yeah, this matchup does it for me and is easily the best for both in my opinion. Sulley vs. Shrek really fell off for me, and now I just find it meh. I don't even think I even had a reason to like it other than Cartoon Fight Club nostalgia, which is weird because I haven't seen that episode in a long time and I remember it being shit. Just really not interested in the match anymore, and any of Freddy's matches don't really interest me. I guess Freddy vs. Little Bendy from Dark Revival is cool, but I don't really got anything to say about it. Who would win? I think Sulley takes it. I think he's just more stronger via ripping a heavily enforced metal door out its hinges, and more durable via surviving that explosion in Monsters University. The best feats that come to mind for Freddy is ripping a vent door, flashing open chain doors with Monty's claws, and surviving the fall that took him to the Burn Trap boss fight. You get what I mean. There's probably more that I don't know about, but I don't think Freddy has much chance against Sulley. And I think Sully's claws can do more damage to Freddy than Monty's claws can do to him. So yeah, I have to give it to James P. Sullivan.
Sammy, I swear to God, if you say that one more time, I'ma slap a bitch!
3 more matches to go. Bendy vs. Skitso. 2 killer cartoons who are inky in nature, whose cartoons came out in the 1920s. They were soon forgotten and casted away due to their monstrous, corrupt nature, which leads to them killing like mindless beasts. Yeah, this vibes. Either of them fighting Cartoon Cat is lame, and Bendy vs. Cuphead is lame. Anyways, I think this fight can be fun. I like the idea of the fight starting with their cartoon selves, but as the fight progresses, they become more monstrous. The fight will probably just amount to both just mindlessly swinging claws at each other and using their inky-like properties to come up with some interesting attacks. In one of the Skitso shorts on Comics channel, Skitso was capable of making someone's head explode. So you can probably have Skitso do that to Bendy, but he quickly regenerates from it. I think overall there's a lot you can do with this match in terms of animation potential. I think Skitso wins, though Composite Bendy is probably a much fairer match. I'd still say Skitso wins because I don't know if Bendy has any feat that makes him able to kill Skitso. Either way, this match is cool. Soldier vs. Sarge. 2 red-clad over-the-top soldiers with shotguns who take their jobs seriously. They are also usually played for comedy. There's probably more, but this is good enough for me. The fight can be some destructive fun and really funny. What else would you want from these two? I do hope that if Death Battle does this and they inevitably put in a Boomstick's dad subplot, they don't have it overshadow the episode like with Macho Man vs. Kool-Aid Man. Anyways, who wins? Fuck if I know, but I have more attachment to Team Fortress 2 than Red vs. Blue, so I'm rooting for the soldier.
Finally, after all these years, Bill Cipher has a gun!
And finally, the 10th matchup, and the one that 100% didn't change from my last list, and has actually become a death battle, Bill Cipher vs. Discord. There's some connections, but it can basically be summed up as chaotic reality warpers from cartoons. It's an awesome matchup, and I'm happy that it actually became an official episode of Death Battle. That episode is basically all I could have wanted from this matchup. It's basically perfect. It shows how much fun the fight can be, and how good the interactions between the two can be. I love this matchup, it's the best for both in my opinion. Bill does have some alts I like. Dementio is my preferred alt, Sans is a guilty pleasure, but objectively bad, and Beetlejuice sounds neat. I don't like Bill vs. SMG0, that match sounds uninteresting to me. And I don't really have strong opinions on Discord's other matches. Q from Star Trek, while I don't know anything about him, sounds cool, but I do prefer Mr. Mixie Spittlelick for Q. Discord vs. Batmite sounds good, but I have no strong opinions on it. And the rest of Discord's matchup spread I could care less about. So yeah, this match does it for me. As to who I think wins, I believe Discord takes the dub. Yeah, I disagree with Death Battle's verdict. I just think Discord has more win cons than Bill, especially with the fact that Bill is probably powering Discord with his chaos alone. But this matchup is pretty debatable with arguments for both sides, so it doesn't matter, and I'm fine with either winning anyways. And I'm not going to think that Death Battle is bad because I think the verdict is wrong. Because anyone who thinks the episode is bad because of that is honestly silly in my opinion. But yeah, I love this matchup. Check out the Death Battle if you haven't, and if you have, go watch it again. And that is my updated top 10 favorite / most wanted matchups. Honestly, I think this list is better than the last one, with 3 new matches that I'm happy to put on here, and some new placements for old matches that I'm okay with. What do you think of this list? Let me know down below. Just be nice about it, please. And while you're at it, what is your top 10? Let me know, and I'll be judgmental of your lists. Anyways, thanks for watching, see you guys later.